experience, have you found that there's a particular antidote to coloring books that you would recommend?
What I would recommend is that people get sketchbooks or blank books. They can buy those blank books that are being used as journals in bookstores, and they can buy sketchbooks and blank books in art supply stores, and then just get simple art materials, Crayolas, crayons of any brand, felt pens. I like to use big markers, that have a thick point, because I can draw, really big fat lines with that. Some of these have a point too, so if I want to go to a thin line, I can do that. And then I also recommend using finer felt pens. This could be used for when people are writing, because my approach to self-help tools for art therapy is to be able to use art materials in a way that is expressive, that does not focus on the end product, but that then leads us into insights which can be written out in words. So you noticed I did a scribble earlier, and I had been feeling very stressed out when I did this. My morning schedule had run over schedule, and I had other things thrown at me at the last minute. It was one of those, it's got to be done now kind of things, or never. I was feeling stressed out and too much on my plate. It hadn't been that way in the morning, but it turned that way by middle of the day. And that happens to people all the time. Fortunately, I have the studio in my home. It's set up. I can come here and do this whenever I want. I have a journal I carry with me. I can scribble in that whenever I want. Sometimes I'll draw pictures. Sometimes I'll cut out a magazine photo. A picture of a volcano that expresses that I'm ready to blow my top. Right? It's the perfect picture to describe where I'm at. So I might just cut that out and put it in my journal. And then I might do some scribbling and then write about it. So in addition to the coloring, the free coloring, and the playful aspect of that, I also bring in writing. And I have, of course, pioneered the whole method of writing with the non-dominant hand to get into the right brain. And that brings more feelings out. I wrote this word stressed out with my non-dominant hand. And of course, it looks like a child wrote it. And it was my inner child who was fed up with all the adult responsibilities and pressures today. And so she had to have her say, and she did. That's how she did it.
And I know you've mentioned that doing the non-dominant hand work even taps into a whole different center of your brain that you're accessing.
Well, it accesses the right brain, which carries our visual spatial functions and awareness. It also accesses emotions, because there's a direct link from the right brain into the limbic system, which holds our emotions. So we could put them in the limbic system and just keep them stored in there, but we can access them through that little hallway or doorway. I even had a dream of this one time where there were little hallways between the two sides of the brain when I first discovered this method. And that was pretty accurate, but there's also this little hallway that goes into the limbic system that carries our emotions. And it's not a good thing to carry them inside. Probably if I had not gotten this out today, I would have felt cranky. I would have probably gotten very tired by the end of the day, and I just probably wouldn't have felt well. I might have gotten a headache. I might have gotten a stomach ache. My back might have started hurting, because it all gets stored in the body. So that's why when somebody says coloring books, and I see some of the coloring books with all these little tiny spaces, my muscles start cramping up just thinking about it. I don't want to relax and get de-stressed by sitting there and coloring in little tiny areas that have been prescribed by somebody else. That's not my idea of a good time. So to me, if you really want to de-stress, just get some plain white paper, or get one of my books with the journal prompts, which in that sense does what you mentioned earlier. It guides the reader into the notion of leave your critic outside the door. Nobody's going to judge this art. This is just for you. It's just your own expression. It's a way to just get the stuff out, like yelling and screaming would do. And it's just yelling and screaming on paper for openers, and then you just follow where it leads you. You know, it might turn into a beautiful picture. If you might start scribbling and then end with something that you really like. But that's not the goal. That's just a byproduct. It's a happy accident sometimes. But the whole idea is to, loosen up. But I think that white paper is the answer. And just plain white, no lines, even if you're writing. And then just let yourself be on that paper. But of course, the critic's voice is going to come in. Oh, you don't have any talent. You're wasting your time. You should be working on your taxes. You should be mowing the lawn. Blah, blah, blah. And that's that critic that we all have. It's going to say, oh, no, this is not a grown-up thing to do. Maybe one of the advantages of the coloring books for adults is that that part of the critic that says this is not a grown-up thing to do has somehow been set aside because people are doing it. That might be another benefit. I just like to see people get outside those lines and have some fun. I like to call this dancing on paper. And I often put music on. And, one of my associates and I created a whole line of music for dancing on paper, Jessie Ellen Cooper. So, we have fun with it and just loosen up.